Pardon the Outbound, but I'm Allred. Today, I've got an extra special co-host with me, Kristina Finseth, who, as you may know, we've done about 50 plus episodes of One Email, Two Takes Together via Sales Hacker. She is also a growth marketing genius over at Greenhouse and a near and dear advisor here at Lavender, our company. Now, Kristina, I've got a fun fact for you. Did you know that you are going to get 12% fewer replies if you include a first name in the subject line?
I didn't. I'm guilty of using a first name in the subject line.
Yeah, so SalesLoft did a study about this, and it turns out that first names in the subject line, while they might get more opens, they actually get fewer replies, which leads me to the email that I want to go through with you today. So I'm going to read through it real quick, and then we'll go through some of the faux pas and some rewrites. So the subject line is question for Will. Hey Will, I noticed you're from Georgia. Coincidentally, I have some colleagues who are from Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta. Small world, isn't it? Haha. Just wanted to reach out since we recently helped Example Company, a startup seed funded by a VC and another VC, launch their recruiting product 2 times faster than other outsourced teams. As a recently funded startup like this Example Company, we thought you might be interested in learning how we achieve this. Can I share a link to our case study with you? Cheers. Person, and they do sales at this company that is an outsourced sales dev, or it's an outsourced engineering organization. Now, let's dive into it. So, Kristina, I don't think it takes much to know that the preview of this message is something that, well, what's your take on the preview?
Well, if we think about preview text, I'm probably going to get to, hey, Will, I noticed you're from Georgia. And it's not compelling. I'm just thinking about someone writing, hey, Kristina, I noticed you're from New Jersey, which is like a big state with lots of other people in it, not coincidentally. So, yeah, I'm feeling like they're grabbing for straws, if I'm being honest.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't have much value. It's a really strange introduction. Like, even as I get extra preview and I start to get into some colleagues being from Georgia Institute of Technology, which is not how anyone from the state of Georgia would ever refer to the Georgia Institute of Technology. It's known as Georgia Tech. The preview there just like leaves a lot to be desired. That said, want to move on. So the next piece here I really want to touch on is this like idea of like personalization. Like also notice the like haha. I don't know about you, but like I read this and I was just like, is this person trying to like sound not robotic, but like it's like clearly a robot because nobody says Georgia Institute of Technology. I'm curious, like, how did that strike you? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's because I know Georgia Tech. What do you think?
I don't know. I think people have to realize that we're reading these to ourselves. And so, like, when you read it out loud, it's hard not to read it out loud and sound stupid. And so that's, don't spit out your drink, Will. Isn't it? Haha. You know? And that's not to, like, I don't know, poop on this person, so to speak. But it's just like, I don't know. Small world, isn't it? Haha. Yeah, because like a ton of people live in Georgia and a ton of people go to Georgia Tech. I don't really understand it. Yeah, I don't know. It feels fake. The haha doesn't really do anything to help that.
All of a sudden that tone just like disappears in the next paragraph. It was like a weird add-on, and then like we get straight into business of like, we've done this.
It's like a reverse mullet, like party in the front, business in the back. I don't know. Yeah, it's like, hey, ha ha ha. Oh yeah, and by the way, let's get to business. Here's why I'm reaching out to you.
You got some serious length up front.
Serious length up front.
So one of the things that I didn't actually hate about this was the way they framed the case study. Now, I think with the case study, there is something to be left. There's more that I like. It's not very clear, right? Like it felt like they added a bunch of words when fewer would suffice, related to like, we've helped companies in your position. Like in the actual example, like they list VC firms that I have no idea who they are. So I'm like, I don't know what you're going for other than like, so I'm curious, like how it, like when you read that, how did that like read to you? Because it left me kind of confused.
Yeah, it left me kind of confused. And to your point, I think it was like overly complicated and verbose versus just like, hey, we helped a company do X. Think we can do it for you all. Can I share this case study? I do like that the CTA though is focused on case study, but yeah, I'm with you. I feel like VCs are probably irrelevant unless they're just trying to like impress and name drop for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it could have been just like simplified probably down to one sentence.
Yeah. I do appreciate the effort though, because I get a lot of emails that like, we've helped teams like Google and like, XYZ on the NASDAQ. And I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably teams within like your HR department that are bigger than our entire company. So like, just making it more relevant is key, but like I just thought there was a lack of clarity there. All right, last thing I want to go over, which I thought this was like a clever approach, and I've seen some folks really taking this on, is instead of trying to get a response related to the message, it's a response related to like what could effectively be a next step. So in this one, it's, can I share a link to our case study with you? To me, I don't really care to read a case study, but I'm curious, like, are you finding success with this type of CTA?
I haven't used this CTA. I'm usually, I'll be real honest, the one that goes for the call. Always have been, always will be. But what I can tell you is like just thinking ahead from an outbound messaging perspective, the reason I appreciate this is because I think the follow-up game could be really strong depending on how people do or do not respond to that question. If they don't respond, you could totally weave that into the beginning of your next message. Like, the case study wasn't that interesting, but blah, 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 blah. If they say yes and you share the case study with them, that's a follow-up. Then you could follow up later and say, hey, how did that sit with you? So yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it because it's almost like a choose your own path. And I have an answer to what that path is, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Which to me, if I'm the receiving end of that though, I'm kind of like, all right, well, I'll just wait for the case study to show up, I guess. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess it's easy to respond to, but it's also easy to ignore, which is like the fatal flaw. All right, Christina, I'm infinitely curious. I have not seen what you rewrote for this. What you put forward?
First of all, I am totally feeling cheeky this afternoon, so just forgive me. I wanted to think of something better than question for you, Will. I hate those subject lines. I know them a mile away. So I put fields of lavender. And the reason I did that is because I thought you'd be curious. One, I'm totally playing around with lavender here. But I was like, all right, well, it's not triage worthy, but it might get your attention. And then I just go into it, so I'll read it to you. Will, notice, I can't even read it out loud. Will, notice, you see how that first email said, ha ha? Mine is literally saying ha ha without having to say ha ha.
Exactly. Got the ha ha.
Notice you're harvesting fields of lavender over there. I mean adding headcount on a weekly basis. Thought I'd reach out. Growth normally equals a need for speed, agility, and adding new product enhancements and features to keep up with the momentum. We recently helped X startup seed-funded company like yours drive product growth 2 times faster than other outsourced teams. Confident we could do the same for Lavender. Interested in exploring. Cheers. Me. That's it. No carrots this time, but this is me. That's my read.
What I love about that too is like the him, like you like found a way to like add the like fun to the message without it being this like dry, like awkward. I noticed I also have some friends at the Georgia Institute of Technology, also known as Georgia Tech, right? Like, but yeah, this 100% would like get me to open, read the email, and be like, this person gets what we do 100%. Whereas the other one, Yeah. Even though like in the message, right, it would say like seed funded, I'd be like, oh, well, technically we're at a Series A. But like I would give it the benefit of the doubt because of like the clever play at the beginning. All right. So, Christina, I'm ready for you to take us on that because I put this together pretty quick. Okay. Subject line, Eng question. So I just, abbreviated engineering. Will, given the pace of your Eng hires, I'm guessing you're using a recruiter. Curious what Casey thinks about outsourcing. I find it can be polarizing. Not sure if you know Patch. They recently raised 2. We helped them launch some key projects while they built up the team. Would a case study help you get a feel for how we work? So, a few things I'm trying to do there. One is like trying to hit on this notion of like handling the objection up front, where you're coming in and you're like saying like, hey, you either like this idea or you hate this idea. And then at the end, I'm just trying to like leave it open for interpretation, for conversation. I don't know. What do you think?
I love it. I mean, you know how I feel about your rewrites normally. I won't ask the audience to vote on A or B like I normally do just to be cheeky, but no, I really like it. I think to your point that I find it can be polarizing is really eye-catching to me because you're literally calling the feeling out loud that people get when they think of outsourcing in any capacity. And so I love that you handled that up front, especially like pulling in Casey, the CTO, like smooth move. And yeah, you kept that case study sentence very short and sweet, but we get the point, right? We get the point of where it fit in and added value in that time. So yeah. I like it. And I like that you changed that ask to, would that give you a feel for how we work? And it gives them an added point to respond back to and say, case study wouldn't help, but like, how are you structured? Or, whatever. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
There's one thing that I'd probably fix on this. I'm like rereading it. Of course, like you read your own words and you're like, is that like second line? I don't think I did a good job of transitioning from recruiter to outsourced like people building product versus outsourced like someone hiring people to build your product. So I could see somebody reading this and being like, are you looking at like, are you a recruiter or are you like outsourced like build talent? But maybe I'll give myself the benefit of the doubt and like assume that in my signature line I covered that.
Yeah, no, if I'm being honest, I briefly started to read your rewrite before we started recording, and it made me think that maybe I had the value prop of the company wrong, and like it was actually a recruiting company. So, I mean, I guess that's valid. I'm not saying that it's crap, but I do think that that's valid if people are just breezing through this. It might seem like, I was like curious what Casey thinks of outsourcing people, like for recruiting. But yeah, I still think it's strong. And I think it gets people curious. So
yeah, worst case, I get a response of, oh, we don't need a recruiter. And then I can be like, guess what? That's not what we are.
If your goal is to get responses, you got it nailed.
Yeah. Confusion in replies. Confused prospect to the purchase. We got this. Well, Christina, thank you for jumping on. This has been a blast. And for anyone who is watching, if you haven't, check out Christina and I's prior episodes of One Email, Two Takes, where we did exactly this for like 50 episodes, just like ripping up some pretty good emails as well as some not so pretty good emails.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you, Will.